Hey guys, John T. Hickmet here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to speak about why it's so important in chronic symptom recovery to not only learn how to allow what's here, but also learn how to acknowledge what's here. I want to speak about what that means, what it looks like in practice, and why this acknowledging piece is often the thing people need to understand when they're struggling with allowing. This is a really important video for anyone already using allowing to get relief from their chronic symptoms, because this is often the piece people are missing when they struggle with the practice. I wish I had understood this when I first learned about allowing. It may sound trivial to say acknowledging matters too, but understanding why acknowledging is as important as allowing can completely change how you relate to this work, not only in healing symptoms, but in how you live your life. In this video, I'm going to break this down through a series of questions because if you truly want to get better, this is something you really need to understand. This video is really intended for people who have already begun practicing allowing. If you are new to this idea and don't know what allowing means, in the mind-body approach, a brief summary is that allowing is the word we are using to describe the internal orientation that helps the nervous system regulate and helps chronic symptoms heal. It's not about trying to calm yourself down or changing how you feel. It is something very different. Allowing means learning how to let the full spectrum of emotion and sensation be in the body without immediately trying to fix it, suppress it, soothe it, or replace it. That can include fear, sadness, anger, discomfort, tension, numbness, and all kinds of sensations that arise internally. And when we learn how to stop interfering with those states and let them exist, it has a regulating effect on the nervous system. This is usually something we practice first through meditation. Over time, it starts to bleed into everyday life, but meditation is usually where we begin learning how to allow. And if this feels inaccessible, one-to-one support can help you understand how to practice it. If you are newer to this approach, please go watch my other videos on allowing first, because in this video, I want to focus on the other piece, which is acknowledging. Because often people come to me and say, I'm trying to allow, but I can't seem to do it. I keep resisting. I keep trying to change what I feel. I keep getting frustrated with myself. And my answer is often, that too is part of the process. You are learning how to allow the parts of you that do not want to allow. And that is where acknowledging comes in. Let's go through this in a series of questions. So question number one, why is acknowledging as important as allowing? The reason acknowledging matters so much is because this method is paradoxical. It is full of opposites that can exist at the same time. We say allow what is, but what if what is includes resistance? What if what is includes a part of you that does not want to allow? What if what is includes fear of feeling? What if it includes frustration, judgment, or a part trying to escape the experience? This is where people often think they're doing it wrong. They hear the word allowing and imagine they should feel open and surrendered in their meditation. Then they go inside and find themselves resisting, fixing, tightening, or trying to have a better feeling. And because they believe allowing means none of that should be happening, they conclude that they have failed. But they haven't failed. You haven't failed. They have found the next thing to allow. Allowing is not excluding the parts of you that do not want to allow. It includes them. That is what makes this paradoxical. It is all encompassing. It includes conflict, it includes contradiction, it includes the part wanting to surrender and the part refusing to surrender. And because this can be difficult to grasp through the word allowing alone, we need the word acknowledging to help us understand what to do. Acknowledging means noticing what is actually happening, even if what is happening is resistance. It means making space not only for sensations and emotions, but also for the parts of you reacting to them. And often this is the missing piece when people struggle. They think allowing means overriding resistance, when actually allowing includes acknowledging resistance first. This is why acknowledging is just as important as allowing. In practice, they're intertwined. Acknowledging helps you include what your mind would otherwise reject, and that is what makes allowing genuine rather than forced. That's question number one. Question number two, what exactly are we acknowledging? We are acknowledging anything that is arising, not only the emotions or sensations themselves, but the ways the mind reacts to them. Sometimes what you are acknowledging is obvious. You may notice fear. You may notice sadness. You may notice tension in the body. You may notice numbness. You may notice nothingness, a calm breath, a tight breath. You may notice doubt, confusion, skepticism, or a sense that nothing much is happening. All of that belongs too. But often what you really needing to acknowledge is the resistance that's showing up around those experiences. Resistance can show up in many forms. It can show up as a part saying, this emotion makes no sense, I shouldn't be feeling this. This sadness feels disproportionate. This anger feels inappropriate. This fear feels irrational. Those are forms of resistance. They are attempts to argue with what is here. They deserve acknowledgement too. Resistance can also show up as overwhelm. A part saying, this is too much, this is too big, I can't handle this. Or it can show up as a very well-meaning rescuer. A part trying to help by calming the breath, changing the feeling, getting you out of discomfort, or making the meditation go better. Even those helpful seeming parts can be ways the system resists feeling what is here. Sometimes resistance shows up as the part trying to do the practice properly, the part monitoring whether you are allowing enough, the part trying to succeed at surrender. Even that belongs. Even that can be acknowledged. Because all of this is a part of the inner system trying to protect you in some way. And sometimes what you are acknowledging may not feel labelable at all. It may just feel like a state of being, a heaviness, a contradiction, a sense of agitation, something vague. That also counts. You do not need perfect language, what you're acknowledging. You only need to notice that something is occurring and let that be true. And as the meditation journey continues, something else begins to happen as well. Your meditation can become a practice of self-discovery. It is no longer only a place where you sit and allow sensations and emotions and acknowledge them. It becomes a place where you begin discovering the ways you have been living life on other people's terms. You begin noticing the ways personality traits have shaped you, the ways perfectionism, people-pleasing, over-responsibility, the need to control, or the need to be approved have conditioned how you relate to yourself. You may have understood intellectually that these things have contributed to repression, but through acknowledgement and allowing, you begin experiencing this directly in your meditation. Over time, you start having epiphanies, here and there, about the ways you compartmentalize your internal experience. You begin noticing how often you override yourself, try to fix yourself, and how often you abandon what you feel, how often you suppress discomfort to maintain harmony or approval. And those discoveries are not separate from the practice, they are a part of the meditation practice. You begin acknowledging these parts of you when you learn how to show up for them. Instead of resisting them, you learn how to be with the resistance. Instead of trying to fix these conditioned responses, you begin noticing how they live in the body and how they have shaped the way you move through your life. And often, especially in one-to-one work, it becomes more and more apparent as the weeks and months go on how deeply you have been conditioned by authority figures, by parents, by systems of expectation. The meditation becomes a place where those patterns reveal themselves, and that too is something we acknowledge in this acknowledging and allowing practice. So acknowledging is not only noticing what's happening in a moment, it's also over time becoming honest about the deepest structures of conditioning that shape your inner world and learning how to include those as well in your meditation. So that's question number 2. Number 3, why don't we need to perfectly label what we're acknowledging? This is important because people often turn acknowledgement into another thing to get right. They think they have to precisely identify whether something is a fear or grief or a protector or a rescuer, but that can become another head-based effort to control your experience, and that misses the point. The point is not to become highly analytical about your internal world. The point is to notice experience as it is showing up. Sometimes you may clearly recognize a part trying to fix, other times you may just notice discomfort. Both are enough. Both can be acknowledged. Precision is not the goal. Presence is the goal. Sometimes in these practices, we are simply acknowledging a state of being. We are not naming it. We are not dissecting it. We are just noticing something's happening. Something in me is reacting. Something in me does not like this. Something in me is trying to change this. That is enough awareness for the allowing to begin. That's enough acknowledging for the allowing to begin. This matters because the mind loves turning healing into a performance. It will say, am I labeling this correctly? Am I doing the practice properly? Am I acknowledging the thing correctly? But that is often another protective part trying to gain certainty. And even that can be acknowledged. It's all allowed. The simplicity of acknowledgement is what makes it accessible. You are not trying to become a perfect observer. You are simply becoming more honest about what is here. And that honesty is often what begins softening the system, what begins regulating the system. So, question number 4, why do we acknowledge the parts that do not want to allow? Because these parts are the gatekeepers to the body. These are the protectors. These are the parts that often keep us from dropping more deeply into feeling in the body. And they are not obstacles in the way. They are part of the path. They need attention first. I sometimes call these parts the bodybuilders at the door. They do not let you enter more deeply into the body until they first feel seen, until they feel acknowledged, until they trust you are not trying to force your way past them. This is why trying to bypass resistance rarely works. The system tightens when it feels overridden. When you acknowledge the part that is afraid to feel, or the part trying to rescue, or the part trying to have a better feeling, you begin building trust. You are showing your system that no part has to be pushed away, and often only then does the body begin allowing more of what has to emerge. This is especially important in chronic symptoms because often symptoms develop when the system has spent years believing certain states are unsafe to feel. The body does not open through pressure, it opens through safety. And safety begins when protective parts feel included rather than excluded. Only when we allow the parts of us that do not want to allow does the mind and body begin trusting it can drop in more deeply. And that is often where healing begins to start, begins to move. Question number 5. Why do symptoms call us back to the body in the first place? There is another reason acknowledging these protective parts matter, especially in the context of chronic symptoms. Symptoms do not arise simply as something going wrong in the body. Very often, they arise as a calling back to the body, a kind of homecoming, an attempt to get your attention and return you to something that has been lost. Much of what we learn in this work is that certain personality traits, perfectionism, people-pleasing, over-responsibility, high achievement, and the need to control often have us living from the head. They orient us towards managing life, managing others, and managing ourselves, including trying to manage all of the emotions and sensations moving through the body. Over time, throughout our life, we become so practiced at controlling our internal experience that we do not even realize how detached we've become from the body. We become very resistant to our internal experience, often because we are trying to be someone for everyone, trying to get things right all the time, trying to stay ahead of discomfort. And then it becomes very mind-led, very problem-solving, very head-focused. And that's when symptoms begin to appear. Back pain, stomach pain, pelvic pain, fatigue, anxiety, depression, tinnitus, migraines. And at first they seem like a problem, but often they are calling. The mind and body trying to get you to stop, trying to get your attention, trying to bring you back to the body. They are trying to move you away from solving life through increasingly head-based strategies and towards learning how to feel what's arising. That's one way to understand your symptoms, not as a punishment, not as the body attacking you, but as the body trying to guide you back towards something essential. Because the system recognizes something important. It recognizes that when you learn how to return to your body, when you learn how to feel the full spectrum of experience and emotion, something much deeper begins to change. You begin to recognize these states were safe all along. You begin to recognize the fear of feeling was a learned behavior. And as you begin feeling more regularly, something else starts to happen. You begin living life more on your terms. People often come to me wanting pain relief, but through learning how to feel all things, they begin changing far more than just their symptoms. They make different decisions in relationships, in work, in how they spend their time, and in what matters to them. They reconnect to their hobbies, their creativity, spontaneity, truth. They stop living only according to conditioning and begin living more according to what feels real to them. Something in us knows life is bigger than the narrow conditioning we've been given. Something in us knows life is short. Something in us knows we're here not only to perform our existence, but to experience it. And when we drift too far away from that, sometimes the body starts to get our attention. It starts saying, come back to yourself, come back to the body, come back to what matters. And what may first feel like a nuisance can eventually be understood as an invitation. Pain may begin as the thing you want to get rid of, but sometimes it becomes the thing that returns you to your birthright. And your birthright is not merely to function inside a system. It's to be alive, to feel, and to live life increasingly on your terms. This is another reason acknowledging matters, because learning to acknowledge and allow all these inner states is not just about symptom relief. It starts like that. It's about returning home to the body, and often returning home to yourself. So that's question number 5. Why are symptoms coming up? Question number 6. How do we actually practice acknowledging and allowing together? As always, we practice this in meditation. This is where we learn how to stop trying to solve the experience and begin allowing the experience. It takes us from the mind into the body. That is why the meditations are the length that they are. Something arises, then you notice a part of you resisting it. Instead of trying to convince that part not to resist, you acknowledge the resistance. You let it be here. You notice how it shows up in the body. Maybe it feels tight. Maybe it feels urgent. Maybe contracted. Maybe you don't feel anything at all, and you let that be here as well. This is what it means to allow the parts that do not want to allow. It does not mean agreeing with them. It does not mean acting them out. It does not mean becoming them. It means letting them exist in awareness. And paradoxically, that often allows the system to settle more deeply when you allow the resistance, the parts that don't want to allow. And over time, this changes your whole relationship with your inner experience. The objective stops being about relaxation. It stops being about getting somewhere. It becomes learning how to let all states of being exist without constantly micromanaging them. Our birthright is to feel all things. The system wants to. It does not need us constantly correcting what it feels. It needs permission to feel what it feels, and the practice of acknowledging and allowing gives it that permission. Those are all 6 questions. In closing, in summary, acknowledging is as important as allowing, because allowing includes the parts of you that do not want to allow. That is the paradox. And acknowledging is how we begin including those parts rather than not even noticing them or fighting them. We learn to recognize resistance, not as failure, but as something to welcome. We learn to notice the parts trying to fix, change, rescue, calm down, or trying to have a better feeling. And instead of pushing them away, we learn what it means to let them be here as well. In that way, allowing becomes all-encompassing. No part is told not to show up. Even conflicting, irrational, disproportionate, inappropriate, or chaotic parts are welcome. And when all parts are welcome, the body begins to trust, the nervous system begins to regulate. If this feels difficult to do on your own, that is exactly where meditation, guidance, and one-to-one support can help. If you have not watched my video where I explain how pain relief works and how IFS and mindfulness work go together, please go watch that next. It's on my channel. Of course, if this resonated, let me know in the comments. Ask me any questions about this or anything else. That's it for the video. As always, I'm sure I've left something out. I'm sure you're asking a question at the screen, and I wish I could answer it in live time for you. But please, if you have a pressing question, if something came up for you when you watch this, please ask in the comments below. I'll answer all the questions immediately. Otherwise, thanks for watching. In the caption, if you are not already in my community and you'd like to join our pain relief community, you can start with a free introduction. You can find the link below. If you'd like to book a complimentary call with me and find out more about how this applies to your situation, you can also find the link for that in the caption below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Hopefully, hear from you soon.